Hi, this is Justin Cooper from Kennebunk Fire Rescue, here to talk to you about our Scott Air Packs for annual training and to meet the objectives of our Bureau of Labor Standards training. We're going to talk about different factors that affect the wearer's ability to use the SCBA, limitations of an SCBA, different parts, safety features, routine maintenance, donning and doffing, documentation, filling, and taking units in or out of service. Physical conditioning. As we know, firefighting is inherently dangerous and fairly strenuous. The wearer needs to be in sound physical condition in order to get the maximum duration of breathing air and time out of the bottle. We know cardiac is also one of our highest incidences of related death. So if you are not doing something to maintain your physical fitness levels to do firefighting and EMS, you really should. Our agility, wearing an SCBA, is going to throw off our center of balance. It's going to make us a lot less agile. So good agility in general is a plus. Facial features, the shape and contour of our face is going to affect the mask seal. It tends to change year to year. That's why we're required to do a yearly physical and a yearly fit test. Unfortunately, a lot of our faces change year to year and not in a way that we would prefer. We've got to be very knowledgeable in how our SCBA works. We've got to be able to use it under high heat, zero visibility, and high stress situations, and we've got to be able to troubleshoot it in those exact same situations as well. That requires a whole bunch of training and repetition, training until we can't get it wrong, if you expect to be successful in rectifying issues in, again, that high heat, zero visibility situation. You've got to be super confident in it and what you're doing. So how do we get to the point where we can make good decisions or decisions in general when we're under a high strenuous and stressful situation? It doesn't just come on its own. It's not something that would normally happen. So we've got to train that way. So we've got to make high strenuous training as realistic as possible to firefighting. And when we're not able to have those types of trainings, other things that you can do are simple things like don your SCBA and wear the air while you get on the stair stepper, the elliptical, go up and down stairs, do other drills, whatever. It gets your body used to wearing it, and you can actually train yourself to then start doing simple tasks like tying different knots or answering simple mathematic questions. Again, just good ways that you can train your body to be ready and able to do that. Good coordination is necessary. We've got to be of sound mind to handle stressful situations. We need good physical strength and size to perform it, but I'm one of the short guys, just like a lot of us, and you can overcome that, again, with repeated training, with some proficiency, and with some mental toughness and resilience as well. Cardiovascular conditioning is certainly necessary to avoid heart attacks, strokes, and other problems. Good respiratory conditions going to increase our airtime and decrease our air consumption rate. We should be doing yearly air consumption drills so that we're able to know what our personal air consumption rates are like, how we can manage those, how we can improve them. We can pick up on trends, and we can also practice when we go into low air situations how we can maximize our air and lengthen our time. God forbid we get ourselves into a situation where we need a firefighter or a RIT team to come rescue us. We can maximize that time that's left in the bottle. So when I first made this presentation 20-something years ago, heart attacks were the leading cause of death in our job. I've had to change the wording several times over. Cardiac is not our leading cause of death anymore. Suicides and cancer are. but heart attacks are still way up there on the list. So why is that, and what can we do to minimize that? So maybe it means putting the fork down every once in a while so you don't need to go back for your second and third helpings. And again, getting up, do something, do some regular exercise, do some regular walking, condition your body so that you can do this job and do it safely. Some other limitations: reduced visibility. Our peripheral vision is narrowed up once we're wearing the mask. If the mask fogs at all, it's going to narrow it up even more. And then if we're also adding in things like hazmat suits, our peripheral vision is reduced even that much more. We certainly have a decreased ability to communicate. So you need to try to talk clearly and concisely, which is something that we should strive for in the fire service anyway. But we also have voice amplifiers on the mask that we can turn on and try and get a little bit better voice amplification. Our air packs do weigh a bunch of extra weight. Again, we talked about how that changes our center of gravity. So between the air packs, our turnout gear, different personal tools that we have in our pockets, carrying either a 6-foot hook, a Halligan, an axe, or a complement of that, a water can, or a hose line, we're talking 100 to 150 pounds worth of extra gear. So again, reiterating why we have to physically condition to be able to do this stuff. Certainly it's going to decrease our mobility. The air pack itself almost acts like a splint when we're trying to move around and bend and twist and turn. Every one of us is subject to feeling claustrophobic from time to time based on the situations that we get in. So again, how can we combat that? And I would say it's through training and repetition and building up some muscle memory. All right, so when do we actually wear this thing? So a lot of times we get off the trucks or off the apparatus and we have this air pack on our back. Oftentimes we're not breathing the air. So when do we need to be breathing it? Well, anytime that we're encountering the ideal H atmosphere or the immediately dangerous to life and health, we need to be wearing it. When we're in an ideal H situation, we work in pairs. So we're at least in groups of 2. Okay, that's required 2 in, 2 out laws. The only time that we can be in an ideal H situation with less than 2 people working and 2 people ready on the outside to rescue those firefighters is when we have known confirmed civilian entrapment. Okay, so when we get there and they say, my husband or wife or kid or whatnot is trapped in that bedroom over there, that's when we don't have to follow the OSHA 2 in, 2 out rule. Otherwise, we've got to have 2 workers inside wearing air and 2 workers on the outside with air packs ready to go. So anything that's on fire, whether it's an incipient stage fire, well-developed, the decay stage, or overhaul, we need to be wearing air. And believe it or not, a lot of our incipient stage fires are the worst when a lot of items are off-gassing. They're off-gassing hydrogen cyanide, carbon monoxide, and a whole bunch of other deadly fire gases. When we're overhauling, we're ripping and pulling, building materials of varying different ages, varying different materials. So that mixed with the different gases are what really increases our risk of cancer rate in the fire service. We kind of foolishly years ago used to go in with our 4-gas meter, which detects oxygen levels, carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide or sewer gas, and LEL or lower explosive limit. So that's showing as we start to build up an explosive gas in the atmosphere, as well as a separate hydrogen cyanide meter. And we used to say, okay, well, those meters are clear. We can doff our SCBA and we're good to go. The problem is, again, there's 300 deadly fire gases that cause cancer or cause death. So just because we have 4 or 5 things showing clear doesn't mean that there aren't those other things in the atmosphere. And then again, anytime we're ripping or pulling walls and ceiling, we're putting that stuff into the air and we're breathing that stuff in. So the air on our backs is free. We need to wear it. A lot of us have, bad built-in habits based on 20 to 40 years of doing it a certain way. So sometimes we're our own worst enemies. I'd raise my hand and tell you how many times I've done that, again, because of that. So we need to all help each other out as a team and make sure we're wearing our air. And you know what? When we run out, we swap out with other crews. They go in and do more work. We get rehab, get a new bottle, and go back in. Not a big deal. All right? So other than the obvious things on fire, dumpster fires, car fires, house fires, whatever, uh, we want to look at our lower rich oxygen atmospheres, again, indicated with our gas meters. So low oxygen is going to be an asphyxiant. High oxygen levels could actually catch fire. Again, all would be bad things if our respiratory tract wasn't protected. The presence of carbon monoxide, a byproduct of combustion, byproduct of fire, obviously, or our heating systems, colorless, odorless, hydrogen sulfide, sewer gas, kind of smells like rotten eggs, but it immediately overpowers your smelling senses, so you won't smell it anymore, and will kill you very quickly. And again, in the presence of explosive gas readings like the terrible Farmington incident. Confined space rescue, we wear our air. Kennebunk Fire Rescue doesn't specifically do confined space, though there are many members that are part of the York County Tech Rescue team that does do confined space. All right, parts of our SCBA that we should all readily know. The cylinder itself, the tank valve assembly, low pressure alarms, or depending on manufacturer, an actual bell. The tank cradle and the harness straps that hold the tank in, our waist and shoulder straps. Our SCBA is designed to be sitting on our hips, so we should be cinching down our waist strap first so it sits properly, followed by our shoulder straps. Some manufacturers have a chest strap. If they have a chest strap, you put the chest strap on, followed by the waist strap, followed by the shoulder straps. Don't over tighten the shoulder straps. You'll be fighting your shoulder muscles when you're doing any sort of overhead work or pulling and pressing, causing a lot of lactic acid buildup and fatiguing very quickly. We want to recognize our high and low pressure hoses, regulators, regulator gauges, our bypass valves, the face mask itself and lenses, our universal air connections, also known as RIT or RIT connections. And again, knowing from manufacturer to manufacturer, some have different parts and locations. Some places will actually spec a second RIT connection, which may be on the front of the pack. So that way, if we encounter a firefighter prone or supine, we'd have a UAC connection available. But mandated by NFPA, all manufacturers have to have it in the same spot. So there is one on the rear on every single pack that we're going to encounter. So this is our Scott AP75, looking at it. So you should be able to identify all those different things that we just talked about looking at it. All right. So some of the features of our air packs, our packs have built-in pack tracker locator systems. So each pack that we have has a unique identifier. Our pack tracker looks like a little wand. Kind of works sort of like a metal detector in that as we move it around slowly and we aim it closer and closer to a downed firefighter, we get a higher signal strength, louder sounds, kind of leading us towards where they might be. Our packs also have carry handles, retention release holders, the universal air connection as we talked about, integrated heads-up display in the mask, and the pack uses 6 AA batteries to operate. So that's what our Pack Tracker 1 looks like, located on engines 4, 3, and 2. The batteries take 6 AA batteries. There's an indicator in there that shows you which way the batteries need to be placed. We want to use the same batteries. We don't want to mix different battery types. So we get them all out of the same package. We try and use industrial strength batteries that are designed for this air pack. They last longer, have less of a voltage drop, and are less likely to leak and corrode. So some safety checks prior to wearing. So we want to check make sure that the straps are fully extended, ready to go. We've got a proper tank pressure before we throw it on our back. Again, it would not be great to get into a situation with only a partial tank. Main BLS, Bureau of Labor Standards, says it's got to be 90% full. However, Just that difference in how full it is 57 breaths. I want all 57 of those breaths if possible, so I want a full bottle. So if I've got a bottle that's down a little bit, I'm swapping it out for a full one. I encourage all you to do so. Go up and fill bottles when you need to. That's what the fill stations are there for. Doing my air consumption drills, I found that if I get into a real problem where I can't help myself out, and I've got to wait for a RIT team, so if I'm trapped by debris or whatever it is, I can slow my breathing down to 2 times a minute. So for a lot of people, you may increase your time from 15 to 30 minutes in that little bit of time waiting for a RIT crew to get to you to help you out. All right, open that tank valve fully. We don't just partially turn the bottles on when we turn them on. It's all the way open. We compare our regulator pressure to the tank pressure. They shouldn't be more than 200 psi apart. Acknowledge that our low pressure alarms have sounded, vibro alerts, all the different audible alerts and the visual signals that we are going to see on the pack. Our pass devices are automatic and integrated. Again, this is just reiterating how important it is to have a full bottle. All right, so looking at a few other things on the packs itself. This is one of Arundel's packs, very similar rendition prior to ours. The top left there, the universal air connection. There's a rubber boot. The boot costs like $10. It's covering up a $400 or $500 UAC. So make sure that boot is on to keep that thing protected. Yeah, it costs a lot of money to fix it, but if you actually needed someone to fill your bottle through the UAC, you wouldn't want it to not work because it's full of dirt, debris, or whatnot. So our pass alarms are all the same. On the side, you got the yellow reset button. On the front, you got the red manual activation. So if we're not moving around a bunch, the unit will go into pre-alert. You can just press that reset button. That'll reset the alarm. If it goes into full alarm, you can press it to reset it again. And if you need to manually activate your pass, you can push that red button and hold it till it activates. It's important to understand that. So again, if we get into a Mayday situation, we can reset our pass alarm when command is trying to talk to you because they can't hear what you're trying to say on the radio over your pass alarm. And then you want to be able to reactivate it after your radio transmissions are done. Bottom left, we're kind of showing the comparison of the tank gauge to the remote gauge on the pass alarm. Again, shouldn't be 200 psi apart. Bottom right, we're showing heads-up display built into the regulator, and then that regulator has only 2 places it's going to be stored. It's either going to be in the cup on the waistband or it's going to be attached to your mask. We don't want our regulators swinging around not in a cup or not in the mask, as we may damage them or get debris in them. The red valve or the purge valve should be left in the closed position. You actually can't outbreathe your SCBA, so if you find yourself having to use that purge valve to give yourself more air, it's a good indicator that you've got the starts of some cardiac disease, and you should get a checkup and some follow-up. All right, some indicators on our pass alarm device specifically. When we start it up, bright light flashes green, normal operation flashing green, a low air cylinder, it's going to flash orange, a low battery condition, it's going to flash orange. Battery tests, with the unit off we can actually test to see if the batteries are good. Press that yellow reset button. If the pass shows green, then it's good. If it shows red, then the batteries are low. We can swap out those 6 AA's. Manual alarm, so it flashes green, then full alarm, it goes red. When the pass goes into pre-alarm, it's going to be flashing red alternately. If we are in full alarm, it's going to flash red simultaneously. All right, again, just showing our battery changes. Get a number 3 Phillips head screwdriver, take the cover off, dump the batteries out, look at the battery placement indicators, put 6 brand new industrial strength batteries in there. Life is good. Checking the heads-up display. When we turn the pack on, the top left is showing when it's going through its self-test, so every light on there is going to indicate. Then after it's done with its self-test, hopefully we got a full bottle, which would show us the top right 2 greens. As we go down to 3/4, we get 1 green. As we're at about a half or so, we're in the yellow, and a low air condition, we're in the red. All right, if our bottle is not attached to our SCBA, we want thread savers on there. That way we won't accidentally bang it up, nick it, and screw up the threads. When I'm donning or doffing my regulator, That purge valve I like to put in the 12 o'clock position or at the top of the mask, and then turn it and ensure that my mask locking clip locks in place on the mask. So our voice amplifiers, make sure that those are turned off when we're done wearing the SCBA so we don't burn the batteries out. We also talk about clipping these off when if we have to do a full cleaning of our mask with the multiple bucket system. We don't want to put the voice amps in the buckets of water. So typically it's a minimum 3 bucket system. We got basically the gross rinse to get all the big stuff off, the cleaning, disinfecting, and then another rinse. We typically add in 4 or 5 bucket systems so that there's additional cleaning and additional rinsing. Big thing is ensuring that we don't store our SCBA or masks in closed compartments or cases after they're wet. They will grow some nasty mold and some funky stuff. We want them to be able to dry appropriately. So this may be a matter of on some of the trucks, the high side compartment may have to be open for a few hours, or the packs may need to be left on the ground next to the apparatus until they're dried and put back in. On our UAC connection, our air packs have a relief valve above it called the Kunkel valve. Earlier renditions didn't have this relief valve, so you may hear blow off of air initially as that relief valve may be resetting itself when you turn the pack on or off. There is a little gray or black rubber band on that Kunkel valve that will wear out over time. We have replacements for that and we can fix it. You also see and note the little gray O-ring that's where the threads are to thread onto the bottle. Make sure that that O-ring is in place and good to go, not squished or torn. That's what actually basically causes your seal between the threads in the bottle when we turn our bottle on. So some basic inspection and maintenance. Again, make sure that cylinder is full. We talked about that a bunch. We don't want a partially full cylinder. I want all my breaths. I want the ability to get out of there. All gauges are functioning. We're within 200 psi. Our low pressure alarms are working. Our vibra alerts are working. Connections are secure with no leaks. O-rings are there. Facepiece is good and in serviceable condition. Not dirty. Not melted, scratched to the point that we can't see, warped, etc. Harnesses are okay. Our straps are all fully extended. The bypass and main valves operate and are left in the closed position. The pack is ready to go. If any of these things don't check out and don't function properly, remove the unit from service. Don't use the pack, obviously. Select another pack. It's important whether you identify a low battery condition while using it or something else, that you take the initiative and take care of it yourself so that it doesn't get rotated back into circulation. The last thing that we want is someone to grab a pack that we already know has a problem and get in and have more of a catastrophic failure in an IDLH environment. It's not a good thing. So if you find a pack with a problem, tag it out of service with one of our orange out of service tags. Write legibly. Write what you think the problem is. Print your name on there so we know who to talk to about it. Put the date on it. Notify the officer that's in charge of that unit that you were on, and in the absence of an officer on that truck, then call up the on-duty captain, notify him what's up, and we will get our vendors in to take care and maintain the units. All right, so they should get cleaned after every use, whether it's cleaning and disinfecting the mask or gross cleaning the whole unit. If it's covered with insulation and drywall and all this other crap, we want to get that stuff off there. So we may be using kind of a gross decon at first at the scene, which could be a small hand line, forestry line, whatever it is. When we get back to the station, further cleaning, mild soaps recommended by the manufacturer. Again, make sure that we don't put them back in cases or closed compartments when they're wet so we don't grow mold. Some minor repairs, those of us that have been trained by the manufacturer can make. Other than that, the unit's gotta be serviced by our third-party vendors. Again, we talked about the orange out of service tag and the notification process of the officer in charge on that unit, and in the absence of that, the duty captain for the day. All right, hydro dates, we've got to check those and document them on the SCBA fill sheet, as well as our weekly checks prior to filling the bottles. This makes sure that they're good to go and we're not putting a tremendous amount, 4,500 pounds per square inch of pressure into a bottle that's not tested and good to go. All new bottles require hydro testing every 5 years. They're good for 15 years. So where do we find those hydro dates and numbers on the bottles? All right. So this bottle here, if we look down under the 3 stickers, you'll see the OK number, and below that you'll see a 710. So this bottle was born on 7 of 2010. It has had 3 subsequent hydros every 5 years. So this bottle will be out of service in 7 of 2025. So even though that last hydrostatic testing shows 8 of 20, the born on date was 7 of 10, so its actual end date will be 7 of 25. All right. Our Cascade bottles that you would find in the compressor rooms, or if we had mobile compressors on the trucks, also have stamped on dates, hydro dates as well. It's just a typical compressor log. So again, we date it right in what the hydrostatic test date is to make sure it's in service. Serial number or bottle number, what we filled it to, and who the operator was. So when we're filling the bottles in our systems, we can fill 2 bottles at a time. We like to try and fill 2 bottles that have similar starting pressures just to improve efficiency, but they're going to equalize. So at the end of the day, it's not a huge deal. Hearing protection is required and should be used per Bureau of Labor Standards. You'll notice in the picture that we've got hearing protection right there for you. So make sure you use it. Verify that the pressure regulator is set for 4,500. Every once in a while, we'll fill state police or other people's scuba dive bottles at 3,000 psi. So make sure that the pressure regulator is set to 4,500. Everybody around us at this point is using 45s. That didn't used to be the case. May not be the case in the future, but for now, that's what it is. So what happens if the pressure regulator is not set correctly, too high or too low? If it's too low, obviously we're not going to get our achieved pressure that we want in a full bottle. And if it's set too high, we could actually overpressure the vessel, open up relief valves, cause a big mess. It would not be good. So make sure that's set correctly. So when we're attaching bottles, we want to verify that the bleeder valves are closed. So for ours, this is what our bleeder valves look like, the little black valve, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So make sure that thing is nice and tight to the right. This one just shows the revolve air system in a rundle. So we will thread our bottle on just hand tight, no he-manning, because we don't want to damage the threads. Hand tight is all that's necessary. We don't want to damage threads or O-rings. Once those are tightened in and our bleeder valves are closed, we can open both bottles again completely. You'll hear air movement as bottles equalize, and then we'll use the handle to close up our fill station system. So whether it's ours like this or the revolve air system, we'll lift up the handle. That'll lock it in place and allow the system to fill. It's not going to allow filling unless it's locked in place. This is for safety reasons. All right, on the revolve air systems, you'll notice that there is one bleeder, which is right in the middle. So again, we turn that to the right, make sure it's tight. We can put 2 bottles on there. The beauty of the revolve air system is just a little more efficiency in filling. So we'd put 2 on there, open them up, they'd equalize. We spin it. It goes in, locks in place, starts filling. This allows us to attach 2 more bottles, have them ready to go. As soon as those other 2 are filled, unlock it, spin it, lock it again. They immediately start filling the next 2 while we're detaching the 2 that we just filled. We attach our bottles 5 and 6, and those are ready to go, and we just keep filling until all our bottles are full. On the revolve air, there's a yellow indicator around the margin that shows when we're locked in place and safe and good to go and able to fill. If we don't see that, then we're not going to be able to fill. When we're filling, we've got to fill pretty slowly, about 100 to 200 psi per minute. Seems like a lifetime to get it done, but we don't want to hot fill our bottles. If we hot fill them, we have the inverse gas laws. So as we increase temperature, we will have our pressure loss. So we'll have a bottle that looks full when it's hot, and then as it cools down, we'll actually lose air pressure. So the next day, we might have 4,000, 3,500, whatever it is. So just have some good discipline and make sure that we don't hot fill our bottles. So once the bottles are filled to the desired level, that pressure regulator is going to stop the filling. We'll close the fill control valves, lower the safety handle, open the door, turn both bottles off, open our bleeder valves. Once the bleeders are open, we can disconnect the bottles, put the thread savers on, put 2 new bottles in, and restart the process. The air compressor itself should be in the automatic mode, so that as we're filling bottles and our banks start to drop down, the compressor will turn on and keep those bottles full and maximize our filling potential. So this is our newest air compressor located up at West K behind the closed door. That also minimizes the amount of decibels that we're subjected to while we're in the filling station area. There is an emergency stop switch for it. There's also electric knife switches if we have to shut power down to the unit. Reassembling the SCBA, slide the bottle under the strap and snap the retention clip in. Again, look for that O-ring, rethread the bottle, just hand tight, and then we're going to go through, snap the bottle strap down, verify it's tight. If it's loose, we can tighten up the strap. If we would ever need to put in a 45-minute or hour bottle for hazmat or other uses, you can loosen up that strap and make it big enough to accommodate the bottle. Before we put the packs back on the apparatus, we want to actually operate them again to make sure everything is good. So we go through the whole process, turn the cylinder on, again, making sure there's no air leaks. All our systems are checking, our vibra alerts are working. We're within 200 on the gauges. Then we'll turn it back off, bleed it down, shut it down, make sure that it's stored with all the straps fully extended, the purge valve off. Our regulator is either in the mask or in the cup, and our straps aren't all tangled up, and we're ready to go. All right, weekly checks, pretty much the exact same check. So full functional check of the SCBA. If we note any problems, fix whatever you can. So extend the straps, clean them, make sure that the masks are matched up to the right packs. So they're all labeled with numbers, so you should see engine 4 pack 1 with mask 1 with bag 1 and all that fun stuff. If the tanks need to be filled, change them out, fill them up. If the batteries need to be changed, change them out. Otherwise, if you encounter other problems, tag them out of service, notify the officer in charge. All right, every year, again, as part of this process of our yearly annual training, we're required to do donning and doffing drills. You can do the simple firefighter 1 and 2 2-minute drills. 1 minute essentially is given for donning your gear from stocking feet. An additional minute is for donning and wearing your SCBA Air. However, that's not necessarily totally realistic to what we do, but it's a drill. The last couple of years, we've done fire department CPR gear removal so that we get the understanding of how to do uninterrupted CPR while removing SCBA and gear. That's been a great drill. This year, I'd like you guys to focus on what's called the porch drill. So the porch drill is basically when you go to force a door and you encounter fire or smoke, or you've stretched your hand line and you're ready to make entry into the IDLH area, the fire area, the amount of time that it takes you to don your air mask and go to work. We already have our gear on. We should be able to don that mask pretty quickly. The standard across the country is 30 seconds or less. You're considered proficient and good to go if you're 20 seconds or less. We're going to watch a couple videos. You're going to see a guy that's pretty proficient, and he's 8 seconds or less every single time. The big thing is you don't want the rest of your team having to wait 30 seconds plus, so like a minute or more for you to, you get your mask on and be breathing air. Like the viability of victims are going to decrease significantly. The fire is going to grow exponentially. We're going to expose ourselves to potential flashover and other issues by just not being able to mask up efficiently. So this year, I'm going to challenge all of you for the next month. So I can do this drill pretty routinely under 10 seconds, usually under 8 seconds. So if you feel like you're getting to that point where you're under the 10-second mark, call me up. I'll come in. We'll do a friendly competition, best of 3, And if you beat me, I'll buy you your coffee or beverage of choice for the day. So it's just a good, fun way to do a little team building and camaraderie. It's a super easy drill that you guys can do at the station any day that you guys are there. It's a great drill. So I'm going to show you a couple of videos related to these porch drills so you kind of have a good idea of what's involved.
We get on fire scene. Time is our enemy, so work has to be our weapon. So training for that, we're going to cut time where we can. Mask up times is a huge part of that. The survivability of our victims falls by 10% every 2 minutes. So if it takes you a minute to mask up, you're stealing a 5% chance of them making it out alive. So here, we like to keep our mask up times under 20 seconds. And I'm going to show you how to do that. This is just the way that we like to do it. There are plenty of other ways. As long as you can keep it under 20 seconds, it's fine by me. We get off the rig with our gloves on, ready to go to work. So masking up, we do everything with our gloves on. The only modifications that I've made is I just got a little bit longer of a chin strap to be able to get over my mask. You can do this with a shorter stock chin strap. It's just a lot easier with one of these. I keep my mask hooked to my regulator. The downside to this is that if your bottle's on and you hit your regulator, it's just going to free flow air. The other downside to this is that as you're moving around, this has a tendency to swing around. So to mitigate that, you can either put it over your back, or you can just buckle it in your waist strap, and then when you're ready to go. So, masking up. Again, just the way that I like to do it, a lot of other different ways. I like to take my helmet off. I'll pass my mask through my helmet strap. I'll basically just drop my helmet on my arm. Mask up. Now I'll pull my straps back to tighten my mask, and then I'm automatically ready to just pinch a piece of fabric, find it with my thumb, and then I can work that around, make sure it's tight on my mask. Next, put my helmet on, tighten it down. Keep my hood loose. This is thanks to the Up Valley North Enders. Check them out on Instagram. I keep it nice and loose, called the hoodie technique. I used to roll it in a very specific way, but if you come out of a fire and then go back in, you got to set your hood up the same way again. So this just seems to be a lot easier. I keep my mask set up so I never have to touch these 3 straps. I only have to touch these bottom 2. Some people like to add tape to their mask. We suggest that if you are going to put tape on this, you just put tape on the side you pull, not on both of them. If you put them on both of them, you can't tighten your mask. If you just put it on one side, it won't slide through, but you can still tighten it.
Now the only variation from that I prefer is I don't like to take my helmet off over my my arm. I like to just sling my helmet back. This video is going to show you basically some of the original guys that that put this drill out across the country. You'll see how efficient he is at doing it. You'll see how much it slows you down to have to deal with having your gloves off and take your helmet off. Makes a huge difference. He's able to go in, potentially pull out victims in the time period that it takes other people just to get masked up in the first place. And those are guys that are doing it in 30 seconds or less already. you'll see that it actually takes the firefighter on the left, in the time that it takes him to mask up once, he can do his drill on the right twice.
Slowing it down and looking at the two different methods here, you can see there's an obvious advantage to working with your gloves on, but Willman also does a great job of keeping his helmet on and off to the side. When you take your helmet off, now you have to think about working either around your regulator or taking it off and then putting it back on at the end of your porch drill. Either way, that adds seconds to your porch drill, where if you would have just kept your helmet on, that could have shaved off quite a bit of seconds on your porch drill. What we also see is the majority of people's porch drill times are spent managing their gloves. So taking them off and getting them set up for each hand, and then working their hands into the gloves takes a lot of seconds into your porch drill, where if you work just with either one glove or both gloves on, that could save you a lot of time in the long run.
All right, again, I'm throwing down that challenge for the next month. Good friendly competition. I really do hope that I end up breaking the bank buying a whole lot of coffees and beverages for you guys. So give me a call when you think you're ready and you want to have some friendly competition when you're under 10 seconds. I'm ready for you. So here's a quick video of me just doing it right here at the house.